You're watching ABC7 News at 7.
Routinely find things in whether it's cell phones or packages, software packages that are developed in other countries that look like they were put there by someone. The hard part's always proving who put it there.
Russia and China are the countries making our smartphones. Is where our personal information is saved a cause for concern? Good evening, everyone. I'm Jacqueline Matter in for Alan Cohn tonight. We'll get to that story in a moment, but first, here's a look at our top stories at 7. The clock is ticking. The school district of Manatee County has just 7 weeks to hire guardians that will protect elementary school students. According to the district, there were 250 applicants for the guardian positions. The district and sheriff's office have narrowed that pool down to 100. Drug tests, background checks, and psychological testing has started for about 20 of those finalists. Some parents say they're concerned that elementary schools will not have school resource officers come this school year.
Unfortunately, SROs are a great deal more expensive, but that's what we have to do.
Guardian training is expected to start in mid-July. The goal is to have all guardians hired and trained by the end of September. Sarana says SROs will fill in any holes that the district has. After months of planning and meeting with the community, designers for the Bay Sarasota have finally narrowed several development plans into one master plan. The design team says many people are happy about the final plan that would include an outdoor event lawn, an amphitheater, potential for a floating stage, ferry and water taxi service, and improvements to existing boat ramps. It also includes the Van Wezel, which many felt should not be torn down. Now the plan has to go before the City Commission for a final approval. The construction for the new parking garage for St. Armand's Circle is now underway. The city broke ground last month on the $15 million facility. Now here's what the former parking lot now looks like. Workers are in the early stages of building a 4-level garage on the land behind the Columbia restaurant. It will add hundreds of spaces to this busy shopping area, which comes as a relief to both shoppers and those who work on the circle as well. Well, you may not realize it, but Florida gas prices are going down. However, prices are still much higher compared to this time last year. Prices went down for the 30th straight day on Sunday, and they have dropped 20 cents since Memorial Day. According to AAA Auto Club, the average cost for a gallon of gas here in Florida is now $2.70 rather. Those prices are still 50 cents per gallon higher than a year ago, and gas will be at its highest price in 3 years on Independence Day. Prices are still lower compared to last month.
It's about 20 cents per gallon lower than it was for Memorial Day weekend. May see a slight uptick over the next week or so, and then we can expect more of a long-term decline in gasoline prices.
Florida's most expensive gas can be found in Miami and West Palm Beach, where drivers are paying $2.84 per gallon. The cheapest gas in the state is in the Tampa Bay area and Orlando, with an average cost of about $2.60. Manatee County Public Safety is starting to use new technology to help save lives. It's incorporating Rapid SOS, a program that sends location information for mobile 911 callers. The program uses location services from Apple to send that accurate information. It will be used in Manatee County's 911 center moving forward. We also have some new information on the person who was killed by a lightning strike on Siesta Key Beach on Sunday. The Sarasota County Sheriff's Office tells us 33-year-old James Barton of Seffner died after being hit yesterday afternoon. It happened at about 2:15 on the beach behind the Pepper Tree Bay condos on Midnight Pass Road. Witnesses say they tried to give Barton CPR before paramedics transported him to a local hospital, but it was too late. Now to an update on a story we told you about yesterday. We now know exactly how many sea turtle nests were vandalized on Siesta Key late last week. Mote Marine Laboratory reports 8 nests were run over by a small vehicle on the south end of the key. The golf cart or ATV knocked over stakes and left track marks through the sand. Mote says Florida Fish and Wildlife conducted an investigation, but it was inconclusive due to the lack of evidence. Coming in contact with sea turtles, hatchlings, or nests is a federal crime. Let's head over to ABC7's Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan with the first alert forecast. And Bob, you are tracking some storms this evening.
Yeah, the storm's pretty much over though right now. The storms that were around did produce and generate some pretty intense lightning and some heavy rain for a brief period of time. But the storminess for the most part is in Pinellas and Hillsborough County. Out of our immediate viewing area, you can still see some light rainfall lingering in northwest Bradenton, out in Anna Maria. Here are the big ones now in Pinellas Park. stretching out to Madeira Beach and near Indian Rocks Beach. All this moving off to the northwest, even at the Port of Tampa, getting some heavier rainfall there. So this round's over. Tomorrow it won't be as intense, and I think it'll be a little bit further inland where the bigger storms will be, but we'll still get a few along the coast. The rain chances are dropping a little bit, and then we'll see a little bit more tropical moisture come back into play over the weekend as a weak tropical wave moves on by, and those have a tendency to enhance the storms. Now this high pressure ridge, which has been kind of dancing around our area as of late, is going to move again off to the east, and then eventually it's going to drop back down to the south. And as it does so, it will give us that westerly component which favors inland storms, and that'll happen Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. It looks like the heat index has dropped. That's one of the benefits of these storms. Cools things down after a high today of 91 degrees. The pressure 30.07 inches. Winds out of the north-northeast at 6, and the dew point temperature is 74. Your evening planner looks much better with few showers, not much lightning anymore. At 8 o'clock, we'll see some clouds around up until 11 o'clock. Temperatures holding into the mid-70s for the most part, and we'll look for a slight chance for a few showers and a few storms again later on tomorrow. Alan?
We trust our smartphones with all our important information nowadays, credit card numbers, our real-time location, and even access to our bank accounts. What many don't know is many of those smartphones are manufactured in foreign countries like China. Is Big Brother watching your every move? ABC7's Jess Dowdrick has the story.
U.S. intelligence is banning some Chinese cell phone manufacturers out of fear that they're stealing Americans' data. They're calling this a threat to national security. And now Russia is making some of the new iPhone X's. Is this something consumers like you should be worried about? Cyber warfare is everywhere. Now attacks are targeting the devices you constantly carry in your pocket.
Routinely find things in whether it's cell phones or packages, software packages that are developed in other countries that look like they were put there by someone. The hard part's always proving who put it there.
The Pentagon recently banning Chinese-made phones. Huawei Technologies and ZTE Corporation in and near all U.S. military-based stores. These companies making several Android phones. The fear being the Chinese government could order Chinese manufacturers to hack into products and spy on the American government and military.
So it is difficult to prove, and if we did, we probably wouldn't come out publicly with it.
Danny Firstman calls cyber warfare the Wild West, especially when it comes to mobile devices.
If you're a defense contractor, or frankly, if you're just a civilian who works in the government or works with private government data, you're using your cell phone's been manufactured in China, and then someone in China might have remote access to things that are going on there. They could be things like just, what you're doing, who you're talking to, your location. That's a big one for military services. So if your government phone shows that, you're in a certain part of whether it's the Middle East or wherever you're operating, that's compromised information. So all of that is a potential concern.
The government is certainly worried about privacy. Should you be?
I would say that there's a lot of reason to be concerned.
Cyber Ninja CEO Doug Logan says there have been other devices shipped from China that are compromised. So he feels there's no reason it would be any different with a phone.
Where iOS and Apple devices tend to force updates, and so you have the latest and greatest software running on a device, and therefore it's more secure. Your Android devices often don't get frequent updates and can have very old operating systems on them, and therefore once things are discovered, those are more likely to be compromised.
Logan says China is just as interested in intellectual property, like a business plan or lawsuit, as they are with the military. So you may be more interesting to them than you'd think.
Anytime you don't pay very much for a phone, and especially if you're paying less than what the hardware is worth, then someone is making money somewhere. And a lot of these very, very cheap, typically on Android phones that you can pick up for 25 or 50 bucks, there have been some of them that have been known to be shipped with malware on them.
Another cybersecurity expert, Silent CTO Serge Jorgensen, says the privacy risk to your standard consumer is probably minimal because he feels that most Americans don't have the information that foreign countries would be interested in.
Consumers that have sensitive positions or handle sensitive data, it might be a larger concern for them.
Jorgensen says the bigger security threat is the apps consumers are putting on their phones.
Attackers frequently will load known bad applications, applications with malware or malicious software already embedded in them, into an app store, into the Android store or Apple store, and just wait for consumers to download those games or those applications and gain access to phones that way.
Through an app, attackers can get access to anything you give them access to, like photos, your locations, or contacts. So choose your applications carefully.
One of the things that consumers can do is, if you're done using an app, then you can certainly delete it from your phone. And you can also periodically go through your phone and see which apps are using which services, and then trying to limit those apps to the minimal services that you would expect them to need. Periodic house cleaning, spring cleaning for your phone is just as good as spring cleaning for your house.
And of course, do some research on any app before downloading it. When it comes to purchasing phones from overseas,
make sure that you keep your software up to date. So if you have an update available from your carrier for your device, whether that's Android or whether that's Apple's iOS, to apply that update as soon as possible.
if a free app or a cheap cell phone seems too good to be true, it probably is. Now, if your cell phone has been compromised, your phone will start running significantly slower and web pages will probably start to pop up for sites that you've never been to. If that happens, you should reset your phone completely. Jess Dowdrick, ABC7, your Suncoast News.
In the moment, two cyber experts and our consumer watchdog at the trapezoid.
We're losing exotic animals on a daily basis, and the ones that we have in captivity are really the ambassadors for their wild counterparts. I'm Clayton Rozier from the Big Cat Habitat and Gulf Coast Sanctuary, housing over 150 exotic animals that needed a great home. And if you love animals, please help them. Do it locally. Support your local no-kill shelters, your local wild animal sanctuaries. Make a difference where you can.
According to Golf Digest, 2 of the nation's top golf resorts are on the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail, the Auburn Opelika Marriott at Grand National, and the Renaissance Ross Bridge Golf Resort and Spa in Birmingham. Plus, the Marriott at Grand National was recognized as Hotel of the Year by Marriott International. Experience luxury and world-class golf Southern style. Visit rtjgolf/resorts or call 800-949-4444 to book your trip to the trail.
Florida Studio Theater presents Always Patsy Cline, extended due to popular demand. A tuneful tribute, the story of Patsy's rise to stardom is told by her biggest fan. Featuring such hit songs as Walkin' After Midnight, I Fall to Pieces, Crazy, and many more you know and love. Critics are calling Always Patsy Cline a genuine hit. Audiences are calling it outstanding. Always Patsy Cline is now playing. Tickets can be purchased at 941-366-9000 or floridastudiotheater.org.
Each day, researchers make discoveries that bring us closer to the moment when all cancer patients can become survivors. Their progress is made possible with the help of clinical trials. Clinical trials are the brightest torch researchers have to light their way towards better treatments. And if you've been diagnosed with cancer, they may be your brightest ray of hope. Speak with your doctor and visit standuptocancer.org/clinical trials to learn more. Together, we can stand up for all of us.
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made her college years happen. Opening that education savings account when she was little. Spearheading a campus tour. And another, and another, and another, and another. Bam! Deciphering financial aid. She was like, what? And now she's like, you aced planning for college. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
It's been about a month, and I can honestly say I've seen the change in me. I went from being a depressed girl who didn't want help to this happy, caring girl who loves helping other people. I just really hope that people that went through what I went through get the help that they need, because their story is important and they are loved. Thank you so much for everything.
Welcome back. Show me your smartphone and I'll show you your life. Now stop and think a moment about who is making that phone. Example, you probably heard concerns about the Chinese manufacturer ZTE. The company is an issue in trade talks. The U.S. military has banned sales of the company's phones on military bases because of concerns about whether the technology in them could be used for spying. The Russians are also making solar cell phone chargers. Yeah, great. We all want Russians rummaging through our photos and browser history. And joining us for more are Jeff Birnbach of the Sarasota cybersecurity firm Silent, Doug Logan of the cybersecurity firm Cyber Ninjas, and our own consumer watchdog, Jerry Zivick. And let me start with you. Is the concern about ZTE cell phones, Jeff, exactly what we heard over the last few weeks about their sales on U.S. military installations?
Yeah, I think it is. I think when you look at all the U.S. intelligence organizations have come out and said, no, this is a flag we need to be aware of. I don't think it's just ZTE. I think it's anything that's made overseas by a country that may have hostile or adversarial viewpoints to ours.
And Doug, exactly what are we talking about here in terms of somebody in China looking exactly what you're doing and saying and have on your phone?
Well, one thing about China that's different from our country is that they're just as interested in our intellectual property and what's going on in our private lives that they can help their companies with as they are with nation-state activity. So they may be interested in you because you work for a law firm that does business with a Chinese company.
And what is the biggest concern that you have, Jerry?
I think this is just a nightmare waiting to happen. I think it's not just technology, not just phones that come from China or a Russian piece that you can charge your phone with. Any software product is a risk as well.
Okay, our conversation is just getting warmed up. We'll be back in just one moment.
Now your ABC7 First Alert Weather Forecast with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan.
Well, Anna Maria webcam, this is what's been going on since 2:30 this afternoon. You get a look at the low tide happening as the boat sinks below the dock right there. And then the storms come in, and they were heavy, brought some heavy rainfall, some frequent lightning, just for a short period of time. That rain is over for the most part. For us, it has now moved on into Tampa and Pinellas County, getting some pretty heavy storms there. We had our fair share here. Another little bit of rain still lingering into portions of eastern portions of Highlands County, as well as into eastern portions of DeSoto County. But light rain, just some light rain now, Longboat Key. No threat of any lightning here now, as all that has now shifted to the north into Pinellas County, where it's coming down pretty heavy into Hillsborough. We had some pretty hefty amounts in downtown Sarasota, nearly an inch. North portions of Venice near Osprey and Palmer Ranch had about a ½ inch of rainfall estimates from the Doppler radar site, and about a ½ inch near Northport. Your evening planner looks good for tonight. We'll have some clouds and temperatures into the mid-70s. We'll start off tomorrow, mid-70s, a partly cloudy day, lots of sunshine in the morning, a few clouds by midday, and then a chance for a few late-day storms. Now, that chance has gone down from what we had yesterday and today. There will be still a few around, but most of that will be inland, and there'll be 1 or 2 lone showers that make it to the coast. So we'll have a pretty dry day on Tuesday, with the exception of a few storms developing along that sea breeze front. And you'll notice the heaviest activity inland depicted by this forecast model. And it looks like that'll be a trend too. On Wednesday, we're going to see more of a westerly component, which will favor inland storms developing along that sea breeze and then heading back toward the east coast. So we go back to that pattern we saw last week, and that'll happen Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then some tropical moisture moves in on the weekend. 76 right now. It's cooled down as a result of that rain cooled air. The pressure rising 30.07 inches. The high today was a warm one, 91. 73 was the morning low, and 0.02 of an inch of rainfall at the Sarasota Bradian Airport. Tomorrow's heat indices will be high once again. We're talking 100 degrees by midday. As I mentioned, a slight chance for a few scattered showers at 3, but more so inland storms throughout the late afternoon and evening. Well, in the tropics, all is quiet. We haven't had any tropical disturbances in the month of June thus far, and we haven't seen that since 2014 if we make it all the way through the end of this month. It's been rather inactive, and we do have a tropical wave, which will bring us a little bit increase in rainfall chances on Saturday and Sunday. But for the most part, no tropical disturbances we are monitoring over the next 5 days. And in the central U.S., a cutoff low continues to bring some heavy rainfall into Kansas and also into Nebraska tonight. Kansas had a little bit of rainfall, not as much, but they had some earlier today. That's now shifted north into Iowa as well. As far as highs go tomorrow, you'll see temperatures warming up. Seasonal highs, 85 in St. Louis, a bit warmer in Memphis at 95, and 98 in Dallas, 111 in Phoenix. For boaters, it shapes up like this. Southeast winds turn to the southwest at 10 knots. Seas will be 1 to 2 feet, and there'll be a light chop on the bays and inland waters. The water temperature now 85 degrees, and it looks as though we'll see highs right around 88 degrees at area beaches. Inland areas will get into the low 90s. Rain chance tomorrow going down a little bit, 40%. Less chance on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And we see those showers. We could see a few coastal showers in the morning. Better chances for rain on Saturday and Sunday. Alan will be back right after this.
When it comes to drinking, what do you think moderation is? The U.S. Dietary Guidelines define moderation as up to 1 drink a day for women and up to 2 drinks a day for men. So what's a drink? The guidelines say a drink equals 12 ounces of beer, 5 ounces of wine, or a cocktail with 1.5 ounces of distilled spirits. Each contains the same amount of alcohol. Like to learn more? Visit drinkinmoderation.org.
The thought of my sons growing up without me inspired me to quit smoking.
I talked to my doctors, and then I threw away all my cigarettes, ashtrays, and lighters.
I started exercising instead of smoking.
Letting my friends online know I was quitting kept me on track.
Staying away from alcohol when I was first quitting was key.
I kept on trying, learned something each time.
Do whatever it takes.
No matter how many times it takes.
We did it. You can too.
For free help, visit cdc.gov/tips.
Find out first at 4 on the Suncoast with ABC7 News at 4, premiering Monday, July 2nd. ABC7 News at 4 starts with a detailed look at your first alert weather forecast to help you plan and prepare. We give you a fresh, fast-paced rundown of the day's top stories and videos, including breaking news, live updates, and traffic hotspots, all at a new, more convenient time. Find out first at 4, weekdays on ABC7.
I'll be right back.
Growing up, my mom was afraid of the water, something she did not want me to feel.
So I enrolled Missy in swim lessons.
It changed my life.
Missy Franklin.
And now you can do the same for someone that you love.
There's nothing more precious than your child's well-being.
So act now, before it's too late.
I'm glad I did.
Thanks, Mom. Visit usaswimmingfoundation.org to find, get, or give a swim lesson.
Welcome back. Should we be concerned about Chinese and Russian technology in our smartphones? And joining us for more are Jeff Birnbach of the Sarasota cybersecurity firm Silent, Doug Logan of the cybersecurity firm Cyber Ninjas, and our own consumer watchdog, Jerry Zivick. Doug, what exactly are we concerned about, let's say, with ZTE smartphones?
Well, ZTE smartphones, I think they're a huge manufacturer. They create a large percentage of the smartphones out there, specifically Android. And as far as what we know, we've already had a number of low-cost Android smartphones that have shipped with malware on them. They have the potential to install any application they want to onto the device.
Could this obviously be used in an espionage situation? We're talking about, you mentioned before intellectual property, but let's just talk about national security.
Definitely. I mean, the nature of the way smartphone apps work is it's possible for them to request access to the camera or the microphone, and there's no reason why they couldn't be listening in or literally looking through the camera with the appropriate applications installed.
Jeff, do we know about circumstances where this has actually happened that we found, through the military or intelligence community, that the Chinese were spying on us through these cell phones?
Yeah, we have. A number of products have shipped, as Doug said, over the years that had malware or droppers built into the back of them. There was one product that came out, it was actually an HP branded product, and though it was a laptop, it was set up to actually harvest your user credentials every time you logged in. That was shipped like that from the factory. Now, it wasn't set to actually exfiltrate those credentials, but it certainly could have been, or had anybody had access, they could have been able to go ahead and exfil them from there. So we've seen cases like that on laptops, on cell phones, on all types of electronic devices.
You know, Jerry, it makes me wonder why the president a couple of weeks ago became so concerned about protecting jobs from ZTE. After all, the Commerce Department basically banned them from selling products into the U.S. here. But obviously, this concern of the military also has civilian applications.
Well, I think what we have to realize is most people, or my peers, will say, well, I'm not doing anything wrong. I don't really care if somebody takes something. But it's not just us. We have friends, we have children that actually might be involved in something sensitive. And correct me if I'm wrong, it's sort of like a daisy chain. Once they get in through our phone, then they can get into somebody else's phone, and then they can ultimately hit some real pay dirt by somebody, you know, 5 or 6 people removed from what we know.
All right, we're going to pick up on that in just a moment. Well, we're just getting warmed up. Our conversation on Chinese and Russian cell phone technology will continue after a quick break, so stay with us.
Sarasota Oxygen and CPAP is the largest locally owned CPAP supply company in the area. Is it time to replace your old equipment? The staff at Sarasota Oxygen and CPAP can show you the most up-to-date CPAP equipment and supplies to meet your sleep apnea needs, including portable travel devices and the SoClean automatic CPAP sanitizer. We serve all of Southwest Florida, giving the highest quality of care with the finest CPAP equipment. Please visit our website, sarasotacpap.com.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes? B, console her?
Don't worry, sweetie. This is gonna happen a lot.
Or C, find her a new boyfriend?
Nice, single boys. That was weird.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more than 100 years, American Humane Association has been teaching kids to be kind to animals. Those in our homes, on the farms, on the silver screen, and wildlife conservation, caring for the world's vanishing creatures. But we can't do it alone. Visit kindness100.org to find ways to teach kids how they can make a more caring, compassionate, and humane world for all of us.
Everything all right?
Actually, you know how Tom had knee surgery?
Sure.
We found out Brad's been taking his painkillers. And it turns out he's been doing it for a while.
Most people don't know what to say about drugs, but we do. Visit us at drugfree.org.
Every child follows a path in life. For many, that path will lead them to a door that gives them a place to grow, to learn, to belong, a place to forge their future. Because while many doors open, these doors transform. They did for us. Support your local Boys and Girls Clubs. Great futures start here.
I just need a second.
Is your weight holding you back and affecting your health?
Did you see this? Your cousin had a heart attack.
Really?
Excess weight or obesity can be serious, but you can do something about it. Visit yourweightmatters.org. Download the free toolkit to prepare you to speak with a healthcare provider. Your weight does matter. Accept the challenge and take charge today. Visit yourweightmatters.org.
My name is Blake. I received a heart transplant when I was 2 weeks old. I play defense for the Red Hot Tornadoes. Sometimes my heart starts pounding like faster and faster as I go. I know I have someone else's heart inside me. It makes me feel happy because someone was generous enough to give me a second chance to live.
This gift of life was made possible by an organ donor. Imagine what you could make possible. Sign up as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. Go to organdonor.gov.
You're watching ABC7 News at 7:30.
Welcome back, everyone. We are talking about concerns over Chinese and Russian technology in our cell phones. And joining us for more are Jeff Birnbach of the Sarasota cybersecurity firm Silent, Doug Logan of the cybersecurity firm Cyber Ninjas, and our own consumer watchdog, Jerry Zivick. So Jeff, we heard about this a couple of weeks ago, and the trade issue is one thing, but what is the government doing right now in terms of trying to make sure if people who live in the U.S. own these phones that are manufactured by ZTE, that there's nobody looking in whether it's governmental secrets or intellectual property?
You know, the government really isn't doing very much. I think that ZTE now, with the paying this fine recently and being allowed to start buying product, they'll be under a phenomenal amount of scrutiny. So I wouldn't be too concerned about ZTE going forward. I'd be more concerned about the 6th, 8th, or 10th largest phone maker in China that may not get the same degree of scrutiny and oversight.
Right, and in fact, there's a story right here. It's time for a number of Chinese companies to prove that they are not spying on Americans. I mean, if the government is not doing enough to make sure about that, you know, is there anybody out there who is?
I don't know of anyone else that's currently checking that. I can tell you that, you know, if you're people I know who are security researchers will set up things on their internal network, and they have found devices that have scanned their internal network. But besides that, we don't have any consumer protection organization that's randomly selecting devices coming into the United States and checking them for malware pre-built into them.
Jerry, what should your average consumer do in terms of, are there simple things that will at least give anybody potentially out there a little bit less access to your most important material on smartphones?
Oh, sure, but I want to digress for just a moment. Does anybody really think that Congress has enough ability to even digest all of these technical issues and actually put this into laws to protect us? You know, I don't think that that's possible. So I think we're really behind the 8 ball on this. So as to your question, it's a situation. If you have an app on your phone and you're not using it, to me, it's a good idea to just uninstall it because it's a potential risk. If you have everybody keeps their location on their phones, turn your location off so they can't track where you are. I think you have as good a chance to have your phone lost and somebody picking it up. Use dual authentication to prevent somebody from opening up your phone. Those are some things the viewers could do.
Well, let me ask the cybersecurity experts this question, because if the government has banned the sale of ZTE phones on military installations, are private companies being a little bit more careful about where they get their cell phones for their employees and making sure that they're purchasing, you know, their equipment from manufacturers which you have less concerns about?
Well, yeah, they should be. You know, I don't know. You know, large companies, I think, have a much better vetting process than smaller organizations. Companies involved in government contracting, you know, large multinationals, I think they have a heightened sense of what we call security maturity. But I don't know that necessarily small organizations that could be conduits into more sensitive organizations share that same degree of scrutiny.
Doug, we mentioned at the outset Russian technology. There was a story a couple of weeks ago about these super-duper smartphones that have built-in solar rechargers, Russian company manufacturing them. And that obviously makes people wonder whether the Russians can also get into your phone.
Yeah, there's been a number of malicious chargers available in various different locations where when you plugged in your Android phone, it would actually compromise it and put on malware. There's no reason why, from a solar standpoint, if it's got the same type of adapter, there can be malware built into the firmware of the device in order to infect your phone when you use the charger.
I guess what some people may be curious about, if you remember that terrible mass shooting in California, in San Bernardino, where the FBI recovered the suspect's cell phone and they could not get into it because of password protection and encryption. So how could our own FBI not be able to access these phones, but foreign entities can?
Well, when a phone is awake, when it's alive, when it's transmitting, all that data is basically in the open for all intents and purposes. So if you can go ahead and put something on a phone that will exfiltrate or send out data while the phone is up, the encryption the phone has when it's shut off has no bearing on that.
Jerry, that it is, you know, we've become very password-centric in our society here. In your opinion, what are the do's and don'ts in terms of putting a password on your phone, no matter who the manufacturer is?
I think password is our first line of defense, and I think we should use a password and something other than password or password one. And I think what we should do is we should change it on a monthly basis. I know it's burdensome, and I know people don't want to do this, but this is our best defense at this point in time, because if somebody does have access, if we change the password, they've lost the ability to have access.
What represents a bigger threat to us? Foreign technology in our smartphones, or the story that we heard out of Washington recently involving these so-called Stingray devices, which allows you to capture certain information coming out of cell phone technology. We know the president occasionally likes to tweet, and they found these Stingray devices in areas near the White House, and that's leading to some to believe that someone could be taking information off the president's cell phone.
No, it's possible. You know, you like to think that the president is using a highly secured, encrypted technology. There's a good possibility that he may not be. He may be picking up his iPhone and communicating just like everybody else.
But how does that work, Doug?
So the way these devices work is they actually simulate a cell tower. So they pretend that they are a cell tower, so that, and your phone is automatically configured that rather than your phone is configured to automatically connect to whatever has the strongest signal. So if the Stingray device is close by and has a strong signal, your phone will actually connect to it before it goes out. Things like text communications usually are in the plane, in the clear, and any data communications you have that are not over an SSL connection could be intercepted. If nothing else, just the fact of your unique identifier for your phone and watching the movements of those can tell you who it is that's coming and going, who it is who's speaking to the president. And that alone would be valuable information.
What about voice communication?
Voice communications, I believe those can also be intercepted with Stingray, but I'm not sure. Do you?
I know you can get, to your point, the location and the to and from. So you can identify the parties involved and location of at least one of those parties.
Jerry, no matter whether you have a company phone that you use for business or you just want to be a little bit more conscious about smart things that you could do in terms of making sure that whether it's your pictures or your phone calls are not taken by somebody else. What are the other basic do's and don'ts that people should have in this day and age, especially maybe even families with children?
I think Jeff alluded to this earlier. People need to realize anytime they're using their phones, putting something out over the airwaves, it's public, end of story. So they have to be concerned about whatever they're transmitting over the airwaves. I think people have to make sure that their cell phone company, their carrier, whoever it is, or the manufactured phone is putting out security patches on a regular basis. How often do people actually go out and check their phone to make sure, do I have the latest security patch? If they're going to use an anti-malware or spyware app, where are they getting this from? If we're talking Androids today, then they should go to the Google store, because the theory behind that is the Google store has vetted that vendor and they've looked into what they're doing. So those are some things the viewer could do.
We only have a couple of seconds left in this segment, but Jeff, are there really answers out there in terms of making your cell phone, no matter who the manufacturer is today, more secure?
There are things consumers can do. To Jerry's point, they should be aware where they're downloading applications from. They should be aware, to Doug's point, of what they're plugging into. Don't just go ahead and plug into a charger at an airport. You're really opening yourself up to a lot of potential problems.
And we all think these airport charging stations are a good thing. It allows us to keep fully charged while we're traveling. But all right, we have to take a quick break, and we'll be back for final thoughts in a moment. Stay with us.
Planning a Carnival Fantasy Cruise out of Mobile? Then check out the park and cruise packages at the luxurious Battle House and Renaissance Riverview Plaza hotels. Stay at the Battle House for $169 per night, or the Riverview Plaza for just $149 per night, and leave your car for the duration of your cruise. Includes transportation to and from the cruise terminal. If you're cruising out of Mobile, come stay with us. Call 1-800-MARRIOTT or visit Marriott.com now.
Are you a soccer mom or dad? Regardless of their age or experience level, when your kids play soccer or any other sport, there's one person on the sideline who is key to help recognize and seek medical care for sports-related concussion. It's you. You need to know the signs and symptoms of concussion, and you need to act if you think your child has been injured. Remember, when in doubt, sit them out. To learn more, go to cdc.gov/concussion. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004.
Our nation's servicemen and women show great courage and leadership, both on and off the battlefield. When they transition to civilian life, they can apply the skills and values they learned in the military to the workplace. That's why the Coalition to Salute America's Heroes is urging employers everywhere to be smart, bet on a vet. Hiring a veteran is also a great way to show your appreciation for them. To learn more, call 1-888-44-SALUTE.
All hands on deck. What's up? I want to point out 3 tips for using the home computer more safely. Point away.
First, stop. Make sure your software is up to date and that you've password protected your computer's login and Wi-Fi connection.
Next, think before visiting a site, opening attachments, or clicking on links.
Then connect, knowing you're helping make the web safer for you
and for everyone. Make Stop, Think, Connect part of your daily online routine.
Coast Guard, we are taking on water.
The United States Coast Guard. They secure our ports and waterways, protect our environment, keep drugs away from our kids, and save lives. It's dangerous work. And in times of triumph or tragedy, the Coast Guard Foundation answers the call to support Coast Guard members and their families. Learn more at coastguardfoundation.org.
They are the greatest fighting force the world has ever seen. But what does it take to bridge the distance and keep them connected to family, home, and country? What does it take to strengthen our service members so they can be the greatest force for good in the world? It takes a force. Be a force behind the forces. Give today at force.uso.org.
And our guests join us right now for final thoughts. And Jeff, I'm going to start with you. In your opinion, where is this going? If we're this concerned about ZTE and companies like that, what is your concern about our smartphones and the future?
Well, I think we're going to see a lot more incidents going forward. I think as the Internet of Things continues to grow, we're going to find we have a lot more opportunities for organizations and individuals to invade our spaces, our personal space and our data. And I think we should expect to see a lot more of this in the future.
Doug, is it too late to put the genie back into the bottle?
I don't think so. I think from a national security standpoint, as more and more of these stories keep coming forth, the actual manufacturers of the devices who have a presence in the United States are going to start doing things where they start loading the firmware on these devices locally in the States or other ways in order to guarantee they don't ship with bad things on it. It just seems like the most logical place that this to actually be dealt with, because at the end of the day, your consumer doesn't like the idea their device could be compromised by a foreign entity. And at the point where that becomes significant for them, it'll be a competitive advantage to deal with it.
Jerry, is it really up to us to ask more questions before we buy a new phone about, the manufacturer that we're looking at here and what companies have reputations for the best and not for the best?
Well, I think our security is clearly up to us, but I think we're always going to be behind the 8 ball until there becomes a national determination that we want our phones safe and our data safe. I think we have to get up in arms and have this, require this of our cell phone manufacturers and of our government to make sure that we're protected.
Sometimes the conversation we have during the commercial breaks is even more interesting because, we were talking about the fact that our beloved iPhones are, Jeff, made in China.
They are. They're made by parts from probably 25 or 30 vendors around the world. However, as Doug had mentioned, that it is still based on an American company, Apple, and I think they do overall a very good job of trying to ensure the integrity of what's going into their product, both from a hardware and a software perspective.
And Doug, we're not getting rid of our iPhones here. They are among the most popular phones here. But do you trust that, with so many parts coming from so many different countries, that we're pretty secure?
I mean, I don't know if you can really know how secure we really are. The nature of security is that it's risk mitigation. And so do we have an acceptable level of risk associated with whatever data that we have on it? In this particular case, I think that what Apple is doing is enough that I trust them to have my phone. I'm not sure if I feel the same way about an Android device at this time.
So, Jerry, in terms of, we capture our lives on these devices, our family photos at these days. Most people just use their iPhone or other phones to do that. Should we be rethinking about how much of our lives that we put on these phones?
Well, I think we should. I've been actually saying that for a long time, but I'm a contrarian. I don't think anything that you put on that phone, you just have to be prepared that it can be downloaded and be on the internet and be worldwide at some point. So you never want to be doing something or saying something that can be viewed by somebody else.
Okay, we'll have to leave it there. On Friday, we discussed on ABC7 at 7 President Trump's signing of an executive order was meant for immigrant families. We asked you for your thoughts, asking if he accomplished anything by signing that order. And Sam Campbell writes, the whole child separation fake outrage was meant to divert attention away from the IG report that shows several biased anti-Trump FBI agents are still involved in the witch hunt. Really? Dennis Lappin says the executive order was simply a stunt and an attempt to divert our attention from the Mueller investigation. Okay. If you'd like to join the conversation about tonight's topic, just visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/mysuncoast.com.abc7. We want to thank our guests for being here tonight, and we'll be back with primetime headlines. But first, here's Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan with your first alert forecast. Bob.
Thanks, Alan, and beautiful sunset it's going to be after some showers were around. This is Tower Cam looking off into the Gulf. We had some rain downtown Sarasota that has since moved on, and skies are clearing. We have still some offshore showers and some storms to the north of us, but boy, it's going to make for a spectacular sunset tonight. And looks like we will see again a pretty nice night. That's next month. Anyway, here's what's going on. Titan radar picture showing some activity still lingering around, some light rainfall, as I mentioned, near Longboat Key. This activity here that you see will still move off to the west, but for the most part, it's going to move into some rain-cooled air, and that's stable air, and I don't think we'll see that fire up. So we'll look for clearing skies tonight. Still some light sprinkles, if you will, hanging out across parts of western portions of Manatee County. Heavier weather now moving through Hillsborough and into Pinellas County. And the GOES 16 satellite imagery showing you what's been going on today. You can see that steady progression of southeast wind and then really firing up those storms with that west coast sea breeze developing. Those two met and caused a lot of shower activity to be around. Some dry air hanging out just to the east of the state right now. There's patches of it too moving in overhead. So I don't think we'll see as many storms tomorrow. There'll still be some showers around, but most of that activity will be firing up along the I-75 corridor and then pushing inland throughout the mid-afternoon with the heaviest storms in the DeSoto, Hardy, and Highlands County. Some of them will have a tendency to work back toward the coast late in the evening, so there's still a chance for some late evening showers. And then Wednesday, similar conditions, but now we're going to see more of this westerly wind, which means it favors a few scattered showers along the coast in the morning, and then mainly inland storms in the afternoon, pushing off toward the east coast late in the day. And that looks like to stick around for a while. 76 right now. It's rain-cooled air. That's the benefit of these afternoon storms. I know we have to deal with that lightning, but we deal with that hot air if we don't see the rain move around for a long period of time. And with the showers nearby that moved on through, it cooled things down into the mid-70s. Forecast tomorrow, heat index will be high. 99 degrees we're expecting by right around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Some areas in the 100-degree range. Now, the shower activity will be scattered tomorrow. There'll be a few storms around, as I mentioned, most of it inland. Well, in the tropics, all is quiet right now. June has started off on a quiet note, and we haven't had this quiet of a June since 2014. So far, nothing to watch either. Over the next 5 days, all is fairly quiet there. A little frontal boundary bringing some showers across parts of the southeast. The national satellite imagery continues to show this area of low pressure kind of cut off from the main flow, spinning over Nebraska now into Iowa. Earlier today, it had produced some heavy weather into Kansas City, and that has since moved on. Elsewhere across the U.S., the big story, the fires out west. That continues to be a big problem with the Santa Ana winds blowing up to 40 miles an hour, spreading some of the fires just without being checked as far as that goes. Firefighters having a hard time trying to get those under control. 81 now in Cleveland, nice day. In Boston, 73 there. 82 for a high tomorrow in the nation's capital, but hot in Phoenix, 111, 95 in Denver. And here we'll see highs into the upper 80s to right around 90 degrees. Mid-90s are possible well inland. For boaters tomorrow, it looks like this. Southeast winds turn to the southwest at 10 knots. And seas will be running 1 to 2 feet with a light chop. Now, we're going to see that westerly component pick up on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We saw it last week. with a possibility of 1 or 2 coastal showers in the morning due to the land breeze, which is opposite of the sea breeze. That'll be a possibility on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. UV index will be high at 12 tomorrow. Load up on the sunscreen. Water temperatures cool just a couple of degrees because of that rain that washed off into the Gulf over the past couple of days. 7-day forecast shapes up like this. 40% chance for scattered showers tomorrow, mainly inland, not as high as we've seen over the past couple of days. High temperatures right around 90 degrees right through the next 7. And the rain chance is sliding down a little bit Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday as a result of that westerly flow kind of returning. Better chances for storms come over the weekend. Wouldn't you know it? The weekend comes and better chances for those scattered storms to be around. Alan will be back with primetime headlines right after this.
Northland Outdoors is about so much more than the biggest fish or the hottest hunting spots. All across the Northland, there are amazing people with incredible stories to tell. We're going to find those stories and share them with everyone. Join us each and every week as we explore the Northland and experience some of the most exciting outdoor adventures in the country right here in our own backyard. This is Northland Outdoors.
Every time you purchase a fishing license or register your boat, you're helping to preserve our nation's coastlines, lakes, rivers, and streams, protecting memories for generations to come. Learn how your participation in boating and fishing can help the environment at takemefishing.org/conservation.
We've all heard how military veterans adjusting to the civilian world may have certain issues.
30. 70.
If only everyone had this issue. No matter what challenge they face, Easter Seals is here for America's veterans.
Don't miss the 34th Annual Hotel Planner Sarasota Powerboat Grand Prix Festival, June 23rd through July 4th, with action-packed personal watercraft and powerboat racing off Lido Beach. And be sure to stop by the Boats by the Bay Party and this year's Fan Festival, featuring over 30 powerboats on display, live music, a live stream of the racing action, vendors, and much more. Both events are free admission in the Van Wezel parking lot. Presenting sponsors include Sarasota County and Visit Sarasota. Proceeds benefit Suncoast Charities for Children. For info, visit SarasotaPowerboatGrandPrix.org.
ABC7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you. Watch ABC7 wherever you are, on our live stream, on mysuncoast.com, on the ABC7 My Suncoast app, powered by the Eye Associates, providing sight for life, featuring traffic maps and live radar, dining with recipes, and My Suncoast Restaurant Guide. Visit mysuncoast.com. Click on the Apps tab to download the ABC7 My Suncoast app for Apple and Android.
Welcome back. Checking in on primetime headlines now to the immigration crisis at the border. The president grappling with how to maintain a zero-tolerance immigration policy while trying to keep families together. ABC's Tara Palmieri has more from Washington.
President Trump doubling down on his zero-tolerance immigration policy, calling for immediate deportation.
We want a system where when people come in illegally, they have to go out.
Suggesting that immigrants who cross the border illegally don't deserve due process. Tweeting, "We cannot allow all of these people to invade our country. When somebody comes in, we must immediately, with no judges or court cases, bring them back from where they came." The president signing an executive order to keep families together, but remaining firmly against releasing them while they await trial. Government facilities at max capacity. The Department of Defense asked to house migrants at 2 Texas military bases.
The executive order was great. It was something that I felt we had to do. We want children staying together.
The administration now asking a federal judge to modify a court settlement that prevents detention of undocumented children for longer than 20 days. Sources say the White House is quietly pushing a bill that eliminates this 20-day cap, since Congress is unlikely to pass a larger compromise immigration bill on Tuesday.
I would think that if it doesn't pass on Tuesday night, you'll see a follow-up piece of legislation within days.
The president has said repeatedly that the only way to solve the immigration crisis is with a wall. But to get funding for that wall, he'll need support from Democrats in Congress. He's now using the immigration crisis as a call to vote Republican in the midterms. Tara Palmieri, ABC News, Washington.
Family, loved ones, and friends are saying goodbye to Antoine Rose, the Pennsylvania teenager who was fatally shot by law enforcement. They held a funeral in Homestead today. East Pittsburgh police officer Michael Rossfeld shot Rose 3 times last week while he was running away from police. An attorney for the family says the officer has a history of targeting young African Americans.
Our investigators have found that that brutality was directed at young black men. And that it was a pattern, it was habitual, and it was enough for him to have not only lost his job, but to be excluded from this kind of profession where putting him on these streets was dangerous.
Officer Rossfeld had been sworn into the East Pittsburgh police force just hours before that shooting. He had worked with other local departments for several years. Rossfeld is now on administrative leave. Raging wildfires are sending thousands fleeing from their homes across the West. The Pawnee Fire in Northern California, exploding over the weekend, has burned 8,200 acres and destroyed nearly 24 homes. The blaze is one of more than 50 large fires burning across the nation. A red flag warning and wind advisory are in effect for parts of Northern California, which could see wind gusts of up to 40 miles per hour. That's all the time we have for this evening. I'm Jacqueline Matter. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.